We began dating shortly after I started a new job, and I, a 28-year-old man, met my ex, a 30-year-old woman. Sadly, I discovered that she was already married and in the process of starting a family with someone else. Not too long after. Not too long in the past. After ending a really awful relationship, I thought it would be best to move on and start over somewhere else. I had been wanting to move and quit my job for a while, and the breakup of the relationship provided the ideal opportunity for me to do so. In the end, I was able to secure employment in Seattle, a city I had always wanted to call home. Everyone was so amiable when I first started. It was easy for me to mix work and personal life in the new office, even though I had always been the kind of person who kept them apart. In my life, for the first time, I genuinely had a work-family feeling. Every year on Halloween, the office threw an annual party because everyone loved the holiday. I couldn't wait to go. It was my favorite holiday and I felt like it was a great opportunity to network with my colleagues. I think I saw the most beautiful woman I had ever seen there. She didn't seem to be in the office, so at first I assumed she might be a coworker's date or something. She chose to start a conversation after noticing me too. She was, I discovered, an actual office worker who had been abroad on business and had returned a few days prior to the celebration. Surprisingly, the Halloween celebration became a little rowdy. Many patrons overindulged in the open bar, saying and doing some strange things in the process. The woman I met seized the chance to plant a kiss on me. From there, things got really serious, and we ended up hooking up in the restroom. Since I had never done anything similar, I wasn't really sure what that would entail for us in the future. I didn't want anything to be awkward between us, so I initially thought it might be awkward. Everyone left the party and headed home. Everyone arrived the following Monday and talked about how wild the party had been. I didn't look for the woman because I wasn't sure if she would be overjoyed to see me. She actually found me around lunchtime, and we had a conversation. In the end, she told me she didn't regret what we did and that she felt like we had a connection. Then she informed me that we were not allowed to tell anyone about us because the office had a strong no dating policy. I didn't have anyone I felt compelled to run to right away to tell about the new girl I was seeing because I didn't know anyone else in the office that well yet. I could easily have kept that a secret from them. We had a covert relationship for several months. We used to sneak in quick kisses and use the restroom. We would look at each other with longing eyes and hold hands under tables. I enjoyed hiding around a little. Some evenings after work, she would return to my apartment where we would hook up before she left for her own apartment. She told me that she had a roommate who would constantly bug her about having guests over when I questioned her about why she never brought me to replace. She also frequently made up reasons not to spend the night at my house, such as early meetings or not having clothes for work. I had no idea that she was actually married, which was why we were hiding our relationship. The thing about that is this. I never gave her wearing a wedding ring much thought. Because of all the rings she wore, I didn't even notice. To be honest, I had no idea that she was married or even what finger wedding ring went on. So perhaps the reason it lasted for so long was just my own foolishness. I was having a casual conversation with a coworker one day at the office when they mentioned that they were going to dinner with my girlfriend and her husband. As soon as they said that, I felt my face get hot. They verified to me that she was married, even though I didn't think they had the correct information. I immediately found it hard to believe. I was astounded by the details. How could I have been unaware that she was married? After all, she told me falsehoods about our connection. I had to investigate for myself. I texted her then, just curious, asking if she wanted to go out that night. She said she couldn't because she had some family visiting. That was, I couldn't help but think, just another lie. Later that day, I struck up a conversation with the same coworker and inquired about their dinner plans. They began regaling me with details of the restaurant they intended to eat at. When we first started dating, I asked my girlfriend about social media, and she replied that she didn't use any. I had her on nothing because I had no reason not to think that was the case. I looked her up online after learning that she might have been married, and I was able to find all the proof I required, based on what I could find online. She had been married for approximately 3 years, and it appeared that they were content with each other. I had no idea that I was the other man in the relationship. The idea of her so obviously lying to me made my blood boil. I was aware that her spouse needed to be informed of what she had done, and that I needed to speak with her about it. I attempted to come up with a cool, collected plan to do so, but my impatience won out and I ended up interrupting their dinner. My coworker had told me they would be at this restaurant, so I located it and went in. I noticed the four of them laughing and sharing a bottle of wine while seated at a table. When my earlier conversation partner noticed me, she waved me over. With great pleasure, they presented me to both my girlfriend's husband and their partner. When she saw me, her face fell. She obviously knew exactly what was going to happen. I pretended that I had never heard of her marriage as I shook the husband's hand and furrowed my brows. She never disclosed to me that she was married. I told her. I never would have been with her otherwise. I was aware from the start that she was married. I did the best I could to portray the victim as a large-time criminal. Everyone in the room looked really confused when I told her that what she was doing was incorrect. After I gave them the rundown, her husband admitted that he was aware of the situation. When they had left the restaurant, he stormed out, and she came after him. I went into further detail with my coworker, clarifying that there was a strict no-dating policy in the office, a lie she told me, among other things. It seems that in order to avoid drama among the staff, it was actually forbidden for people to date in the workplace. A provision in her contract stated that in the event that the terms of the agreement were broken, termination might be necessary. I headed straight to HR. The next time I was in the office department and informed them of the connection. After explaining everything to them, I warned them that since my girlfriend was a liar and cheater, there would probably be drama between us. There was a part of me that believed she would be promoted to seniority and I would be let go. Neither of us needed to be fired. I would have been the one fired if only one person needed to go. After telling them and waiting for their response, I started looking for other jobs and positions. It turns out that her coworker who was dining with her went to HR and described everything that took place. They informed HR of all the events and were obviously on my side, that I should be the one to stay if anyone should. It was HR calling me later that day informing me that my girlfriend had been fired, the matter had been resolved, and I had received a formal warning not to date in the workplace. Knowing that they were on my side in every way made me feel good. Even though she was the cheater, it was nice to know that they saw the bigger picture and didn't just side with her. A few months later, I received word from a coworker that my ex-girlfriend was divorcing her husband and actively seeking employment. I knew she must have been struggling because it never looks good on your record to be fired. I truly didn't care and didn't know what else was going on with her. I actually apologized to her ex-husband through correspondence. To be honest, I knew nothing about him, and I made an effort to fix the problem as soon as I learned about it. It made sense that at first he wouldn't want to talk to me because he was clearly in a lot of pain. A few weeks later, he contacted me to say that while hearing it was upsetting, he was happy that I had told him what had happened. He was happy that the relationship ended before children were involved because they were actually planning to start a family. It's astounding to learn how simple it is for someone to deceive another individual. It's quite unsettling how easily your ex-girlfriend was able to continue living this lie. I'm so sorry for her former spouse. If they intended to become parents, they appear to have been enthralled with each other and enthusiastic about the future. Having everything taken out from under you is unimaginable. When you discovered that she was lying, you did the right thing by confronting her at the restaurant. Everyone has the right to know that the person they are currently seeing is not who they initially claimed to be. I'm happy the husband updated you on his life and spoke with you after the incident. I hope that in the future, this won't prevent you from experiencing happiness. Anyone can become cheated on when they go from one unhappy relationship to another. However, I assure you that not all of them are the same. I hope the future holds nothing but the best for you. Let's move on to the following tale now. The 8 years that my wife and I have been together have been some of the happiest of my life. Even though things are complicated now, I knew I loved her the moment I laid eyes on her. She was a lovely, intelligent girl who fulfilled all of my desires. We were together for only about 6 months before we were married. We heard from everyone that it was much too soon. Neither of us wanted to listen, though. We went to the courthouse and signed the paperwork because we were certain that we wanted to be together. Although it's not the most romantic tale, at the time, it was what we both desired. One of the main points of contention between us when we first started dating was money. Things were tight and neither of us had a great job at the time. When we got all of our money together, we would fight over what to buy, whether it was something from the house or savings for the down payment on a house of our own. After I received a huge promotion at work a few years ago, our relationship took a turn for the better. We decided to start a family after realizing we would have more money than we ever imagined. We made a down payment on a house, and after everything was settled in, we began trying to conceive. We became pregnant quickly, and everything appeared to be going smoothly. My wife was 6 months along, and I was feeling very overwhelmed by it all. I was going to be a father, and for 8 years, my entire life would depend on me. I could have handled it better, to be honest, but it was a lot to process. I threw myself into my work in an attempt to ignore my fear. I paid absolutely no attention to how my wife felt. All I wanted was to put my worries behind me. My wife was talking to her sister a lot about our relationship, which is why I was unaware of it at the time. It seemed that she was becoming concerned about the increasing gap between us and believed that something was wrong. The majority of people were attempting to soothe her and inform her that her hormones were impairing her judgment. Not, however, my sister-in-law. My wife was actually persuaded by her that I had an affair. Nor did my wife ever approach me about it. They both simply assumed that I was unfaithful and continued living their lives as though that were the case. I had no desire to have an extramarital relationship with anyone. Yes, since I've been married, there have been occasions when I've glanced at other women, but I've never once thought about cheating. I was pregnant for the remainder of the pregnancy without even realizing something was wrong. When the baby arrived, we were both utterly enamored with him. Regretfully, it affected our personalities and manners quite a bit. I was working much more when I was expecting. After the baby was born, I had a standard for myself that I had to maintain. It was difficult for me to deal with the fact that I didn't get to spend much time with them. After the baby was born, I took 3 weeks off, but after that, things at work returned to normal for me. My wife believed that I was unfaithful to her once more, but she chose not to confide in me about these worries. I became aware that there wasn't quite right in the partnership. Roughly 8 months following the birth of our son. Fortunately, my mom gave us a full week off over the Christmas and New Year's holidays. It was around that time. I was incredibly excited for the vacation time so I could spend it with my family and enjoy my son's first Christmas at home. I observed that my spouse was incredibly aloof. She didn't even seem to want me to touch her when I finally had some alone time with her. She was also very cunning when it came to her phone. Since it was meant to be a surprise, I kind of assumed that she was working on something Christmas related and didn't want me to see it. However, when Christmas passed and she continued to do it, I became a little concerned. She'd put her son to sleep one afternoon and passed out on the couch, so I used the chance to see what she was so secretive about. I took her phone and examined it to find out what was going on. I experienced a gut punch sensation. It dawned on me that she was having an affair. I was unaware at the time that she believed me to be unfaithful. I believed that our relationship was going great. I discovered innumerable messages from some random men that they were exchanging nude pictures and engaging in sexting. It was obvious that the man was fetishizing my wife's postpartum figure. This is a little unsanitary. You understand what I mean when I say that he was genuinely attracted to her breasts. My world seemed to be breaking apart all around me. She was cheating on me, and we recently had a baby. Finding out was utterly terrifying. I gathered all the information I could about the man she was speaking with, as well as any supporting evidence for her form. The messages made it clear that he was aware of me. He had an affair with a married woman who had recently given birth to a child. It was all really repulsive. I returned the phone to its original location and went online as if nothing had changed. Examined the man. It was not too long before I located him. When I searched for him on Google Images, I came across a Reddit account where he had uploaded numerous explicit photos of himself. Additionally, he frequently participated in lewd subreddits on pregnancy and recently given birth using his account. It was there that I learned he had met my wife. Her post was not too offensive. She uploaded a photo in a pregnancy community that was safe for work, showing her tummy at various stages of pregnancy and before. She received a lot of positive feedback, mostly from other women, telling her that it was lovely and natural, among other things. However, that's where I noticed the man's remark. He said that the most attractive and beautiful thing a man could have was a pregnant belly. After she thanked him, I assumed they struck up a conversation. I also managed to find out that the man was wed. He had his own family and was older than my wife. It appears from what I could find online that his family has grown and moved out of the home. It didn't matter if she was talking to another man and sending him these photos, even though I wasn't sure from their messages if they had slept together yet. It was deceitful. I'm attempting to determine how to proceed with everything. I thought about talking to my wife about it and trying to find some sort of closure, but I didn't think I would be able to pull that off. I eventually located the man's wife on Facebook and added her as a friend. Soon after, she accepted it, and I sent her a message with all the information I had uncovered, along with some of the photos and screen grabs I had of their chats. She read the messages but did not answer any of them. After a few days, I observed some behavioral shifts in my spouse. She appeared to be more interested in me and wasn't checking her phone as much. I couldn't help but believe that it was because she had lost contact with the man she was speaking with. I could feel everything wearing me down. I simply confronted her about it one evening. She didn't come clean, so I told her that I was waiting for her to do so. We had a major disagreement about everything, and I questioned her about why she was acting that way. She presented the whole thing as her exacting revenge on me for once again being unfaithful. I was surprised by the accusation because, at the time, I had no idea that she or her sister had any suspicions against me. She insisted that I was up to something, so I shut it down immediately. I explained everything I did on the days I was working, assuring her that I wasn't really cheating. She was obviously upset with me for thinking I was unfaithful to her and taking revenge. She expressed her regret many times, but it was too little, too late. She had been incredibly well behaved. There were repercussions from interactions. I informed her that I would be filing for divorce and that I couldn't be with her. She begged me not to. She was heartbroken. However, I had no other option. My trust was betrayed by her, and I was unwilling to deal with her. I started the paperwork while she left the house to stay with her sister. A few days after her departure, her sister got in touch with me and attempted to clarify everything while assuming a large portion of the guilt. I told her in a message that going forward, she ought to think twice before interfering with matters that were under her control. One day, out of curiosity, I browsed Facebook and noticed that the woman I had gotten in touch with regarding the messages had posted a lengthy message announcing her divorce. She stated in the message that they had been dating for 25 years, and it was a really challenging choice. However, she discovered that her spouse had cheated on her numerous times in person and was having multiple online affairs. I felt horrible because I had assumed I should have told her the news. However, it was better that she was aware of it. I ended up divorcing my wife, and since I work a full-time job, I currently have sole custody of our son. My spouse frequently visits our son despite living with her sister. I still want her in his life despite everything that transpired. Additionally, I won't keep them apart. It appears that your sister-in-law played a significant part in persuading your spouse that you were having an affair, which is annoying because, in all honesty, it had nothing to do with her. If either of them was worried, regardless of whether she actually met the man in person, exchanging those messages and pictures is still cheating, so they should have come to you with their concerns rather than acting under the impression that you were cheating. When you discover the messages, I believe you made the correct decision to divorce her. It appears as though there was little obstacle to it developing into a sexual relationship. That you're still letting her spend a lot of time with your son is commendable. It is ideal for them to be in a loving, caring relationship. I sincerely hope that the future holds nothing but the best for you and your family. I appreciate each and every one of you listening to the stories today. If you like what you heard, don't hesitate to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Additionally, leave a comment below reflecting on what transpired. Please do not hesitate to get in touch with me if you have a story to tell about your own circumstances or those of someone else. Be careful.